Sometimes in SketchUp you want to produce something which has very precise measurements. Now, we've already covered how to use measurements with standard tools. So if I want to have a 2 meter by 1 meter rectangle, all I've got to do is say 1m, 2m, and there we have it. Very simple. Which we can then extrude up by 1 meter. And I'm typing all these dimensions in. I can have a circle, and if I just look at the bottom right, I can see that radius is going to be 1 meter. I'm going to put it up again by 1 meter. I'm going to draw a hexagon from the toolpath again. The first thing you do is how many sides. I want this to be a 6-sided shape, so pulling it out by, whatever, that was by eye, but I could just type in the dimension. I'm going to pull this up by 2 meters this time. So things like this we've covered already and should be very familiar with you. Same thing with a pen. I can take drawing on here. I can go towards that corner there by 1 meter. I can go towards this corner here by 1 meter. I can keep doing this all the way along. You know, you can keep going all the way around. So this is very simple, but what I'm talking about is making a lot more precise cuts. So let's take something I'm going to make up. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. It's going to be 1 meter by 2 meters. Okay, and I'm going to give it a bit of depth. So actually, it's a 3-dimensional shape. So camera, top. So we're looking down from this. So I want to draw a rectangle in the middle, which is precisely in the middle and has very precise measurements. So what you can do is use the pencil tool and draw guidelines onto your model, and these construction lines or guidelines will eventually be removed, but they will help you to achieve your result. So for example, if I want to say have a rectangle, a hole cut through my shape, and I want to have it, let's just draw a line here. I want to have it, that's 100 centimeters. Sorry, that's 10 centimeters off that surface there. I want to have a 20, sorry, a bit too far then. And I want to have 20 centimeters off the sides. So I can just do 20 centimeter, okay? And I can do it again, 20 centimeters. And I want this one to be 30 centimeters from the bottom. Okay, so a bit too far then, sorry. 30 centimeter. Okay, get units right. I typed meters there before. So these are kind of like prods. Our shape must touch all of these. Now, what we can do is just take a line from either side here, and we're not worried about it being accurate as such, as long as it's on the right plane. So I've gone right over there. So once again, take here, and yeah, now I can just go right over. I can actually extend outside and just keep going the way. Thing to look for are your lines turning, in this case, red and green. On different axes, they're the blue. So I've drawn all over here, and these are to help me. Take the eraser. I can then erase all of the lines which I don't need. Just very carefully running the eraser over the lines. If you do something stupid, like, no, delete the corner, oh god, my box disappeared, don't worry, edit, undo. So just go around removing all of these lines which you just don't need. It's kind of like the Buddhist philosophy of letting go. So I've drawn this, it's exactly 20 centimeters, 20 centimeters, 10 centimeters, and 30 centimeters. From there, I can take it down on face. I've now cut a perfect size. Now, maybe I want to do something different in here. Maybe I want to have a series of circles. Now, one thing you notice that if I zoom in here, midpoint, I can drag. It'll actually go along the green axis. You know, that's fine. If I know that I want this to be, if I'm doing a circle which has a 5 centimeter diameter, and I want to have this the edge of this circle 5 centimeters from that line. Okay, so 5 centimeters. Then we got a circle, and that circle is 5 centimeters long, which means 10 centimeters from that edge there, right to the other side. If you find this slightly complex, don't worry. You don't need to remember any of this. Just remember that I'm working in my head here. I'm speaking out loud. So we can draw a line which is going to be 7.5 centimeters long. Okay? So 7.5 centimeter. Right. That is 7.5 centimeters. The reason why it is 7.5 centimeters is that when I locate the circle tool at the end point of that line, I can make this any size I like. Okay? But the radius is what it asks for. To describe this circle in a size, you have to enter a radius. If it's 5 centimeters diameter, it's 2.5 centimeter radius, which is why that line is 7.5 centimeters, because 2.5 plus 5 equals 7.5. Very simple maths. So 2.5 centimeters there. I can then take this eraser tool, get rid of that line. So that is perfect. Or maybe I want to have a series of these. I want this series to carry all the way through to the other end. So I'll do it again. 7.5 centimeters. Right. Select the circle, as we did before. Move. Press Options for Mac, Control for Windows. It's copying across. And I'm moving it to that point there. So we have two circles. Both of them are 5 centimeters from the edge. If I'm going to divide by, I don't know, 10, okay, however many we want it, we now have these perfect divides. I can then take my razor, move the lines, move that lines, and now this is done perfectly. What you'll find that this could be, when you're doing things, rough ideas such as interior design, you tend to run by eye. There might be a few things which are exact, so they'll say, you've got exactly a room this size, you've got a table exactly this size, you've got a chair exactly this size. So you can make things which are roughly the right size, and then everything else is done by eye, because as long as it looks right, that's good enough. It's concept. What I'm talking about here is used a lot more in actual design. So it might be that what happens in between here and here doesn't actually matter, but these sides have to be the right length. For example, I can just pull this down, and it could be that, you know, you need that to be there. Let's try to think of another example of doing things precisely. So camera standard view, right. Let's think of right. So we got 10 centimeters and a line across. We can have 20 centimeters and a line across, and 30 centimeters. Oops. 30 centimeters and a line across. Why am I doing this? because that allows us to produce guides. Okay. Now let's go camera. Let's take these very high. So that's higher. Let's make them higher still. I'm going to select all of these individually. So hold on Shift so I can carry on selecting, just like in any other program. And then just pull these guys up. Although, my mistake, you can't do mass things that way, so just pull these up. And what I'm doing here is taking it up so it says on face, so they all turn out the same height. I recognise I made a slight mistake on the fourth one, and actually went a bit too high, but these things happen. You can't do everything perfectly all the time, especially when it's just rushing it. So let's go camera. Right, so let's say that we want to cut the first two there. Okay. Actually, we'll go a bit further. We want the first two gone beyond that. We want the second two gone beyond that. Then we've got two more, which are the next sections. So we will cut these two here and these two there, leaving the three ones at that full height. I can take a line and draw it across there. Okay, we're starting to get somewhere. Apart from I drew that one in a very weird way, so I'm going to erase this one. And I'm leaving this in rather than reading the video because, frankly, sometimes you don't get perspective quite right. And, the more you use this, the better you get at it. If you use SketchUp every day, then you become an absolute pro and can do these things in your sleep. When you don't do them every day, you just don't. Anyhow, so that is our guideline boxes. Let's get the razor out. Let's start removing all the beds we don't need, which in this case be these lines. And what I'm trying to do is produce things I can use to block. Now, there and that line. So if we were to extrude these things I just created forward, then it would work. So this part can be slightly tricky, so I'm going to select all of these. Now, if you do it that way, you end up selecting everything you don't need, so I'm going to make a section plane. So Tools, Section Plane on the side, move it forward, so actually I can select what I want. View, Section Plane, so leave me just that. Camera, Standard Views, right. Select all of this. Okay. And I'm going to copy this a few times forward. So using the copy array, and I'm going to go, let's say, 4x. Lots of these there. And the reason I've got lots of them is just so that I can do what I want when I want. So I'm actually going to remove all this stuff here. I should have deleted it originally and just move them forward. But there's different ways of doing it. Sometimes do it easier way, sometimes do it hard way. So the first load, the first pass is going to be the blocks that knock out the side. Actually, there's more when doing it. That is the profile we need. So I actually didn't need to have all the cuts before. So I have a brain dump there. But sometimes you think of doing things one way, think the complex way of doing it, then realise that an easier way exists. So there we are. I've just created my thing floating in space, which I'm now going to select as a component. Okay. Turn off my section cuts. So if this thing, this looks a bit like an elephant or Tetris block, moves forward the right amount, which is sometimes easier said than done. So here's the item intersected with the original model. So right click, intersect faces with model. So that is now created cuts. Now, whilst between videoing, I managed to explode it by accident. These things do happen. So when I actually delete this, you'll see that although the cuts are there, I've got to delete this the wrong way. But again, if you explode things and then, or don't make a component then intersect, that's completely fine. There's just different ways of doing it. Some ways are easier, some ways are shorter, but ultimately you'll get there in the end. The only time where it's a real sin is when you're working to a really tight deadline and making a mistake does cause longer. So you can see it's taking me a bit longer to delete this box than if it was a component, because then you would just click it and go, you know what, delete the entire thing because I've left my mark. So almost there, last few pieces. Often you'll find things like this come along where you have a decorative feature which has to fit into a certain area. So if you're imagining an archway of a store, you can have hollow pipes going exactly to the ceiling. If you model the archway and then you just stick hollow pipes through, you can say, right, everything which will go outside the archway, get rid of, and then you can have a perfectly fitting area. So anyway, we've got our cuts along here, which have been precisely done. Take the eraser, slowly go along this line. You can have tried to delete everything, but it can be difficult, so just whack. Here we go. Just cut, erase from the top down, not the side along. Erase the top, and there we have a whole load of pipes, and we've cut them to precise areas. So using the pen tool, typing in dimensions can help you produce guidelines, which at the intersection of guidelines, or corners, or different pieces, can help you get precise measurements in your model.